Yankee Chatter fans, we are back with another episode finally.
Finally. That's right. We have been due for a new episode, Brad. And with all the madness in Yankee universe, we have plenty to talk about. That's right.
That's right. That injured list just keeps piling up and claiming more and more victims. They had another one recently. Who's to blame, if anybody? Let's talk about it.
Let's. So after a few weeks, because it's been a few weeks, Brad, sorry to everybody if you've been dying for a new episode here. Life happens, unfortunately, but hopefully this will be worth the wait because we have a king-sized show for you today.
King-sized, that's right, monster.
Which reminds me, how you
sleeping? For those of you who don't get that, well, look it up. It's a movie.
It's a good movie,
worth watching.
Too. Very well worth watching. But my name's Greg Andriano. You can find me on Twitter at GregAndriano05.
And I'm Brad McCormick. I'm at BradChatter1 on Twitter.
So, Brad, tell us a story.
I can tell you a lot of stories. You want to hear about baseball or something else? I got a lot of stuff going on personally.
What do you got? No.
We'll stick to this.
Okay.
So, anyways, whether you like him or not, the newest member of the injured list is Greg Bird. He had been struggling mightily as the season was going on, but you never want to see anybody get hurt. There's always a chance of player turning it around as long as he's still in the lineup. But unfortunately, he is not in the lineup, and maybe never again for the Yankees with a torn plantar. How do you pronounce it? Plantar fascia.
Plantar fascia. I don't know. In architecture, it's fascia, but I don't know. Plantar fasciitis, I think it's called.
But anyways, he's out indefinitely. We don't know if he'll return this season or ever again. He's still got 2 years left before he's a free agent, so odds are he will have a chance in the minors because no one's going to trade for him now. But yeah. He's got a long road back. Let's just put it that way.
Yep, that's true. So he was batting 178 before he went down. He only had one home run. It came in the first game of the year. But they put him on the IL and transferred their other glass man, the famous Jacoby Ellsbury, to the 60-day IL. And actually, tonight's game is his first game, but the other day they promoted Mike Ford, who's been red hot in AAA.
He really has, hitting .410 to the first 10 games of the season or so. Yep. He's got 5 home runs and 4 doubles out of his hits. So he's not only hitting, but he's hitting with power, and it could be a big jolt to the lineup. Now we're filming this during the Kansas City game where he's making his debut. Hasn't been the debut he's hoping for. He did get on base for the first time in the 7th inning, I believe, 7th with a walk. But let's hope he gets more playing time and keeps the hot bat going.
Yeah, well, let's hope Chad Green can get out of this trouble he's in right now. With that said, so the news of Bird headed to the IL for yet another injury begs the question that pretty much every Yankee fan is pondering. Has he played his last game in pinstripes? Now, you mentioned he's got a couple years left before he reaches free agency, so he probably ends up down in AAA for a little while, and I think that's probably the best thing for him. They have this habit of rushing him back from all of his injuries. Now, he had a whole offseason to come back, but he wasn't getting regular at bats. He wasn't seeing playing time, and maybe this is what he needs. Maybe he needs to be in AAA like he should have been last year, iron out all the kinks, and come back strong, or maybe build up some value and they can trade him.
Right. When I think of Greg Bird's career, I think you can relate it in a way to Jabba Chamberlain. And I say that because I think those are 2 careers that the Yankees really screwed up big time in how they handled them. When Greg Bird was trying to come back from his injury last year, instead of putting him opening day in that 3-hole, he should be in AAA. He's got to get his swing back. He's got to get his timing back. And Yankees didn't do him any favors by leaving. It's basically giving him the job right away. You rewind that to Jabba Chamberlain and the whole reliever starter. And he was so easygoing about it. He didn't care. He just wanted to pitch, and they took advantage of that. And I think it really screwed up his entire career. And I agree because that's off topic, but it's true.
But it's true. But it's true. And look at Greg Bird when he first came up. I mean, he was touted as one of the best hitters in the Yankee system when he first came up. And he was. But then he got hurt the first time, and they rushed him back. And then last year they rushed him back because he got injured early on in the season and then came back, drink Coke. And then
I'm looking for a sponsor here. All right. I'm tired of doing this for free. Okay. It takes up too much of my time.
Well, giddy up. So they rushed him back last year, and he probably should have spent time in AAA getting his swing back. And you can still see the effects of it. Even when he started this season, he was raking in spring training because he was facing AAA pitchers. So
yeah, so does Tyler Wade.
But then you watch. I think Tyler Wade and Greg Bird are very different in the sense that if you gave Greg Bird enough chance to get back to it in AAA and get his swing back and get his timing, because you watch him hit. And he's so late on all the fastballs, and he has this approach at the plate that I like it sometimes, where he'll work the count. Well, he'll work the count.
You like it when it works.
Well, I like it because if they're not hitting, if the rest of the team's not hitting, he works the count, and he gets the pitcher's pitch count up, and he gets a 10 pitch at bat. And sometimes he'll work a walk, sometimes he'll strike it out. But it would be nice. Also, sometimes if he would jump on that first pitch fastball and hit that, because if you watch, they just groove it in there because they know he's going to take it. And
I feel like that's a problem up and down the Yankees lineup is they watch the fastballs down the middle and then they swing at the balls in the dirt for the next pitch because all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm in a hole already.
Yep, you gotta keep these pitchers off balance.
I was complaining about that last night, but before Gardner hit the grand slam, Urshela was up with men on. And he looks at strike 2 right down the middle, swings at strike 3 that didn't reach more than 55 feet.
They put themselves in a situation where they feel like now they have to swing. And this is kind of what I've been talking about with you, Sean, and Ryan, is their approach. Now, I know, and we can talk about this later, but this is a big deal to me. And people should be paying more attention to it because they swing for the home run every single time, which is fine. If that's your approach, do it. But you also have to be aware of the count. You also have to be aware of the situation. I feel like guys go up there and they're looking fastball and they get the slider and they don't pick it up and they swing at it anyway and it's down the dirt and they look like a fool. And then when they could have swung at the pitch before that, which was a fastball right down the pike. So this is a big deal. Now it might not be a problem in the long run because it's still early in the season. These guys can turn things around. But right now when they're struggling, when half the team's injured, you can't go up and you have guys on your lineup that aren't power hitters like Tyler Wade, like Gio Urshela. You got to make adjustments. You got to preach that, all right, well, we're not going to try and hit home runs. Let's try and hit the gaps. And let's go up there and focus on hitting the ball hard. And then you almost hit the ball out of the park by accident. Home run shouldn't be your intent.
I think it's kind of like a passive aggressive approach. You want to be aggressive, you want to jump on it, but you don't want to try to kill it. You just want to try to get a hit.
Well, the other night
they actually did do a suicide squeeze the other day.
Yeah,
and it was pretty awesome to watch.
Yeah, and if you think about it, people show up to watch the home run, but if you mix in some small ball here and there, it gets exciting because you get the crowd into it. You get runners on base. You get people moving around instead of pop out. Home run, pop out, strikeout, ground out, home run, pop out. It's great. Home runs are fun to watch, but if you mix some other stuff in there and you try and get on base and get base runners and work the count and swing at strikes, it's a lot to say and so much easier to say than do. But, I feel like the Astros can do it. That's what they do. They don't rely on the home run.
The Astros, it's when the Astros when they were losing those 100 games a year and they were trying to rebuild, they led the league in strikeouts like every year. That's what they did. And now they got these young guys that came up. They're so skilled. They got Altuve and Correa, and Springer still swings to the fence, but Correa and Altuve, especially in Bregman, these guys, they don't care where they hit it. They just hit the ball, and they hit it very, very well. And now look at Altuve. He's a tiny little guy. He just tries to hit the ball hard, and he crushed the Yankees in that series.
He did 4 home runs in 3 games. But that's the thing is they try to hit the ball hard, and if you get a good swing on it and you get a good pitch to hit, then you'll probably hit it out. But if you're looking up there to hit the ball hard somewhere, then you have a better chance of getting on base and mounting a rally or something, getting the crowd into it and just building up the excitement. And it's people that think baseball is boring are the people that tune into games like that where the offense is going up there just trying to hit home runs the whole time and not doing anything. So if you want to make baseball more exciting, then teams need to focus on getting base runners, working counts, and doing the little things too on top of home run. You have your power hitters and you have your contact hitters. That's how the game used to be played. You have your leadoff guy, your number 2 guy, they get on base, so your number 3 guy and your number 4 guy can bring them home. That's what I was taught growing up. So, but I think we went a little off topic.
Take note,
there,
Marcus Timms. Take note from 2 guys that clearly know more than you about baseball.
Yeah. Well, that's analytics has a lot to do with it, and that's a whole different conversation. So now with Bird on the IL, that's I think that's 12 now people that are on the list.
Right. I don't know. Well, CC came off it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. 11, 12.
But I think with all the people on the list, you can field a full. Nice catch, boy. I think my feed's a little behind yours.
Probably. I just want to point out, though, that the Royals have 11 hits tonight, the Yankees 3. That's pretty disgusting. But it's what the Yankees did last year, too. The Yankees played awesome against the good teams and they played awesome against the good teams, awful against the crappy teams. And here we are. They're losing games to Orioles, Chicago, Detroit, Kansas City.
Now this game right here.
Houston, but.
Well, and this game right here pretty much supports everything that I just talked about. Because look at the Royals' approach this whole game. Yeah, they hit a couple home runs, but they also hit some doubles. They hit some singles. They moved some runners around. They're playing for contact. Whereas if you probably watch the Yankees, and I haven't watched most of the game, but unfortunately, I can probably assume that they were all swinging for the fences. So this game is like to a T what I'm trying to show everybody.
Not a good showing offensively, and you want to give them a pass because it's kind of a letdown game after sweeping the Red Sox. They had their disco party with the fog machines and all that stuff in the locker room yesterday. They were on a high. You'd hope to carry the momentum in, but you do have kind of a letdown, I guess, if you look across the diamond, you see the Kansas City instead of Boston. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think
and Homer Bailey's been pitching good, so I guess you got to give him some credit.
You do. Give credit when credit's due, but if you're the Yankees and you're struggling to win games, but you played really well against your rival, then I think you need to go in the mentality that every team's the Red Sox.
Yeah.
I mean, the Red Sox are playing like garbage right now, so they also took advantage of that. But the Royals have almost the same record, so, figure it out. But, we can just go down the list right now of all the Yankees that are on the injured list, and you got Andujar, Betances, Ellsbury, Gregorius, Ben Heller, Aaron Hicks, Jordan Montgomery, Gary Sanchez, Luis Severino, Giancarlo Stanton, and Troy Tulowitzki. So I think you can pretty much field the full nine players.
And it'd be a really good team.
Yeah, better than the team that they're putting out there right now, I'll tell you. But today, some good news. Andujar and who was it? Sanchez and Tulo all took batting practice. So that's good news. It means hopefully.
Sanchez has said from the very beginning he's expecting me back after 10 days. So it wasn't anything serious. So, and I guess he was right.
Mm-hmm. Which is great.
He was hitting good. He was hitting hot. So
he was the best hitter on the team at the time when he went down.
You need him back in the lineup. 2-0, we'll see what we get. And Andujar, I'm not convinced he shouldn't be getting the surgery and just staying out of it because, what are you going to do? You're going to baby his arm? He can't throw from third base.
Mm-hmm.
You can't play at first. You can't. There's no room for the DH.
And that's what they're thinking. They're pondering of putting him at first. But you got Luke Voigt there. You just called up Mike Ford. Not that, he would stick around. They'd probably send him down anyways when he comes back. But
I'm sure he'll be the first one gone, yeah.
Yeah, but if Andujar plays first and you're going to baby him, he still has to make throws. He's still the cutoff to the outfield. So, and he has to turn double plays, and that's another thing you worry about because he's making a throw he's never made before. So it's all concerning. And then what if he tries to play through it and he makes it worse? I mean, what if he plays 30 games, Brad, and then he tears it completely? Then he's out for the rest of the season, and he's gonna be out for almost all of next season too.
I guess even if he has the surgery now, he's gonna be out for the rest of the season too. So maybe that's why it's not really a big risk. I don't think they'd be doing it if there was a big risk.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Didi. Didi had the same surgery, and he's not gonna be back till after the All-Star break.
Yeah. Although I did see on ESPN today, I don't know how accurate it was, but on ESPN they had a list of all the Yankee injuries and when they're expected back, and they have Didi listed as June. So I don't know if that's wishful thinking or if they know something we don't know.
I saw that he's hitting off tees. I don't know if he's taking batting practice or anything like that, but he's been throwing, and I guess it's been working out. So he's right on track. Well,
he's on track. We'll see what he is when he gets back too. It's he's gonna have to go through rehab games and all that stuff to get his timing back. We'll see. Mm-hmm. Just his personality, though, and his presence in the clubhouse I think is huge for this team.
It's infectious, and it's something that the team's lacking right now.
When they lose him and they lose Torres to free agency, it just takes a lot of the personality out of that dugout, I think.
And now you're up in the bottom of the ninth, and you got guard top of the order up.
Well, this is bottom of the eighth.
Oh, bottom of the eighth.
Gotta get those eyes checked, man.
Sorry.
I think my eyes are wrong.
No, you're right. I got
a big TV I'm looking at. I don't know what you're looking at. I'm looking at a TV.
I'm looking at my phone.
I have a studio. Okay, it's a basement, but I like to call it a studio.
My cord.
I have a fold-up table here with a TV, and it works.
Yeah, I'm in my third bedroom.
Looks great.
What you see is pretty much the whole room. So, anyways, like we said, injuries everywhere. They did just wrap up a 2-game series against the Red Sox. So let's talk about it, because who doesn't like talking about the Yankees beating the Red Sox?
I'll talk about it. I'll talk about this 2-game series for the rest of the year, yeah. Remember that time back in April? Do you remember that?
Speaking of Gardner, since he's up right now, we
had a Gardy party last night.
Yep. Well, first game, let's talk about that real quick.
All right.
So they shut out the Red Sox. James Paxton pitched 8 innings, fantastic innings. He looked like the player that they traded for, and this is why you trade for him, because he shut out your biggest rival. If he can build off this start and do this throughout the most of the rest of the season, that's fantastic. That's what you're getting, what you signed up for.
Right.
And he instantly becomes your ace, because Tanaka, he's hit or miss. Sometimes, he'll go through stretches. He's streaky. But they shut out the Red Sox, and then Mike Tauchman out of nowhere drives in 4 runs. He had a monster 3-run home run to right field. His first career home run. Yep, yeah. It was beautiful. They beat up on Sale. He shut him out to start the game.
He looked good in the beginning of the game. He did, yeah.
Yep, because he got his velocity back, but then he started leaving pitches up, and the Yankees took advantage of it, and that's great. I love to see that. You want to talk about the second game, because they won the first game 8-0.
I just want to comment on Paxton, the Big Maple, pouring some syrup all over the Red Sox. You know what? He's Canadian, and I have a theory. He was so jacked up from the the NHL playoffs starting. He was like ready to go. This is his season.
Hey,
it's a theory.
If it works, right? What's that, Labuche?
In all seriousness, though, he did go to a sports psychologist because he's putting too much pressure on himself performing in New York. And it helped. It's good for him that he did that. And that's pretty. That's being very self-aware. So that's kind of nice.
And the other great thing is Carlos Beltran picked up that he was possibly tipping his pitches against Houston. So So they tweaked that. They seemed to solve some problems. They didn't really have many base runners last night or the other night. So
does this happen often? The teams, do many teams have pitchers that tip their pitches? Because this is now Paxton. It was Severino.
Yeah, and it's kind of odd that Carlos Beltran is the one picking this up and not the pitching coach.
People defend Rothschild to no end. The Rothschild supporters really, really defend him on this stuff. But unless there's something we don't know, the story that broke was that Beltran pointed it out to Paxton. There was nothing that said Rothschild pulled Paxton aside and talked to him. We didn't hear anything about that.
Nope. So what's the deal? Why is your pitching coach not picking this stuff up? Like I said, early on in this offseason, one of our first episodes, I'm pretty sure it was Rothschild that didn't tell Severino what time the game started, or he gave him the wrong time, and that's why he was late to his bullpen session. Yeah. And that's why the Yankees lost the playoffs. No, Boston was really.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Boston was really good last year.
They were the best team. So
as much as I hate to admit it, but
anyways, back to Paxton's back on track. He looked awesome. Hockey playoffs or not, he's ready to go. But yeah, so game 2, we'll fast forward to game 2. It was looking like the Yankees were going to lose. I got to be honest, because the way this season's going, when they get down some runs at the beginning of the game, I really don't have any confidence for them to come back like tonight.
Plus J-Happ
was serving up some home runs, but he settled down. He did. He settled down, got in the rhythm, and Yankees just chipped away, and then Gardner planted one in the outfield, and not even in the outfield, in the stands behind the outfield. I don't care what you say about the. I don't really care what you say about the dimension of the field. The field's the field. Both teams play on it. It was a home run. All right, so grand salami for the Gardner.
Did you see that tweet?
I did. Yeah, some jokester was complaining about the dimensions, and you point out that it's actually further than Fenway.
Yeah. Yep. Right field is a little bit further.
Not to mention Fenway's fence is about 2 feet tall out there, so.
Yeah. Yep. So.
You could stand on top of it, like whatever that guy's name is in Major League. What was that guy? I want to say Tanaka, but it wasn't Tanaka, was it?
I think it was.
Was it really? It might be Tanaka. It was like Hiroshima Tanaka or something.
Yep. I think it is Tanaka.
The guy who knocked himself out, who knocks himself unconscious more than balls he caught the year before.
We'll have to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure his name's Tanaka.
That's pretty cool. I just realized that now.
What are the odds? But yeah, so they came back, they won, and it was fantastic. And I could watch Gardner hit that grand slam all day. In fact, I pretty much did.
Good for him. He's one of those guys, no matter what he's hitting, average wise, he's one of those guys you want up in a spot like that.
Yeah, he seems to always come through.
It wasn't 0-2 count, but hey,
he
worked.
He got the pitch he was looking for, and he did something with it. That's the key. If you get the pitch you're looking for, and you can do something with it, then. But people like to give him a hard time. People like to complain. I don't think he should bat and lead off. Now that's a topic for later. But he should be in the lineup because of that veteran presence that he has.
It'd be interesting though when Stanton and Hicks come back, who it's more starts him or Frazier, because Frazier's hitting the crap out of the ball right now, and he's continued that tonight.
He really is. I think when those guys come back, I'm guessing Judge struck out.
Yes, he did.
Great to end the inning. So I'm like, Kennedy's just coming set right now. That's how far behind I am.
Oh, okay. Sorry to blow that one for you.
That's okay. Anyways, I would assume when Stanton and Hicks come back, Tauchman's going to be the first one to go.
Oh, yeah. We can agree on that.
Yep. But I'd like to see Frazier stick around just because he's hitting so well.
He deserves it.
Hopefully by the time they do come back, he still is hitting well. So right. just to note, the Yankees are opening a 4-game set tonight. They're trailing right now 5-1 to Kansas City. And if you guys aren't aware, tomorrow night Jacob Junis is going to pitch for the Royals. And Jacob Junis is the pitcher that hit Judge in the wrist last year and broke it. Now I know there's no bad blood between the two guys. In fact, I know Junis felt really, really bad about it because he posted it to social media. But it'd just be interesting to see because this is the first time they've faced each other since the hit by pitch. I'd love to see Judge take him deep, just to bring it full circle. Not because Junis is a jerk or anything like that. Just because you'd like to see him get a little redemption against the guy. Because you remember last year when Giancarlo Stanton faced Mike Fiers and Fiers threw at him up and in and
and hit the home run.
And then he hit the home run. Not that that would happen with Judge because Judge is so soft-spoken, but
I don't see it as much as a story. It just is what it is.
No, it's just an interesting fact. It's the first time they're facing each other since the whole thing happened, and I'd love to see Judge do something about it, not in a revenge sort of way, just because it'd be a cool story. Guy that he broke his wrist, he just hit a home run off. So, anyways,
all about the Hollywood dramas,
right? That's where the stories are, Brad.
All right, I think we should do some. I think we should do quick fire off takes these questions here.
But before you do that, just want to let you know that Gardner's home run last night was his 100th for his career.
Yeah.
And I think he's the second Yankee to hit a grand slam as his 100th career home run. Ellsbury did it a couple of years ago.
I think it's the fourth all time.
The Joker. Yep, I think you're right. So after this Red Sox series, Brad, the Yankees are now 8-9, possibly falling to 8-10 tonight, unless they have some magic in their bones. Are you worried?
No, I'm not worried because they're still in second place in the division. Not looking good for the wild card, although I don't think there's many teams that are too far ahead of them in the wild card. You want teams like Oakland and Minnesota to lose because you're expecting teams like Indians and Astros to win their divisions. But it's too early in the season to pay attention to that stuff. The Rays are going to come back down to earth at some point. I don't think they can keep up this pace, although I said that last year about the Red Sox, and they did. But I don't know if the Rays are that same kind of built team. But long story short, I'm okay for right now. Even at 8-10, it's not ideal, but I think they're due for some kind of winning streak eventually, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the situation right now. They're basically rock bottom, right?
I mean, half their team was
could,
in the minor. Half the lineup was in the minors at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it could get worse. Some other things could happen, but you got to look at the bright side. There are guys coming back from injury. It can really only get better. It's still early. They haven't even played 20 games yet. This is their 18th game of the season tonight. So, knock on wood, none of these players that are injured are having season-ending injuries. So anything can happen. They can go on a run. They can string some wins together. It's not the end of the world. Now, if it's All-Star break and they're still under 500, that's when I start to worry. But I'm not worried right now.
Okay, so let's go off to the next one. If you were worried, I guess, what was the biggest area of concern? Like, who's to blame? Like, what would you blame for this start?
Well, Brad, I think the big problem thus far has been the bullpen. In the 9 Yankee losses, I think 8 of them were by 1 run. I think I read that somewhere, or they were very close games, or they had the lead at some point.
Well, they had the lead in like 8 of the 9 losses.
Mm-hmm. So it's the bullpen. They're not being effective right now. Playing, that's who I would point the finger at. For all the injuries, I'm looking at the training staff. How does all this stuff happen? How? Injuries do happen, but at what point do you start looking at the training staff? What about you, Brad?
Well, I mean, the training staff does have to have some kind of accountability for some of these injuries. I don't know if you can blame all of them. Some of them are just fluke injuries, but you would think that some of them have to be held accountable. I know in the Mets, all the Mets pitchers were getting hurt every single year. They fired the pitching coach. They brought in Dave Island, the old Yankees pitching coach. And the Mets pitchers are like, this is the first time we ever had off-season pitching programs. And it really helped strengthen their arms. So actually, trainers do make a difference in a game that, like baseball, that goes for so long. But other than that, I blame, you can blame the bullpen because they're not really holding up to their, I guess, preseason expectations of being his historic bullpen. But I'm going to go with the secondary players that haven't stepped up. I'm going with Wade, with Bird. You can throw Tuwitsky in there. Frazier has at least done better. But these secondary guys have had opportunities now to step up and really carry on the next man up mentality, just have not really taken the job and ran with it. I think it's a squandered opportunity by those guys.
I think you're right. I think that's a good point there, Brad. So, with that being said, what would you change? Is there anything that you would change?
Right now, it's not much you can change. You can question the lineup all you want, but these guys still got to hit. I would definitely try to jolt this lineup a little bit. Girardi did it. Torrey did it. They had to make changes. So you have Judge bat second every game. That's great. He's doing well. Move him around. Put him 3 and put Torres second. Put Frazier second. He's the one hitting the crap out of the ball. LeMahieu, you could bat LeMahieu lead-off instead of Gardner. Just different things like that. Boone had a big blunder tonight, if you ask me, where the 7th inning they were down 3-1. You have Britton that hasn't pitched in 4 games, and you bring in Holder to start the inning instead. He gives up 3 straight hits. Next thing you know, it's 5-1. It's just decisions like that don't make sense that me and you can see from home that he should be seeing. Maybe the analytics tell him Holder should be coming in. I don't know what he's thinking, what the book says, but that's my opinion.
That's a different conversation because sometimes you got to manage with your gut and sometimes you got to ignore what the numbers say. But that we're gonna get into that.
That's why A-Rod should be manager. If you listen to any of his, did you listen to him at all last night when he was on in the 4th inning?
I did not, but actually you're jumping ahead because that actually is the last question.
All right, we'll save that for later.
So save that answer, Brad.
I get excited.
I know. I don't blame you because you make a good point here. So we just asked what would you change. What are some positive things going on right now in your mind with the Yankees?
I actually think the starting pitching has done well. I mean, I know Hap's not off to the start he wanted to be off to, but I think Loizaga's pitched good when he's had to. Herman, he pitched okay today, but overall he's pitched very good. I think he had like 3 hits and 40 some at bat plate appearances against him before today. Paxton, he had one rocky start against Houston, but other than that, he's done well. I think Tanaka had one bad game, but he can't pitch good every game, I guess.
No,
I
you're
think they've
entitled
been
to have
better.
a bad. You're allowed to have a bad game.
Yeah, I think overall, if you match them up with the other starting rotations in the league, I think they actually have not been that bad.
I looked at it the other day, and I think you're right. I think they're up there in team ERA, and that's one of the things that I would say was positive note is the pitching. Domingo Germán has been fantastic. He's allowed to have an off night. It's not the end of the world.
He didn't pitch bad. He had 3 runs, and 2 of them were solo home runs. So it's not like he was getting beat up.
Yeah, solo home runs are the way to go. If you're going to give up a home run, just don't give up 9 solo home runs. But Clint Frazier's been great since he's come back, and now he's playing regularly. He looks like the player that they traded for. So, I mean, at least with the bat, the glove, he's got some growing to do. But, that's what happens when you haven't played in over a year. You're still a little rusty. And the other thing is LeMahieu. He's the best contact hitter on the team. He's the player that they should be, these the non-Judge and Stanton players, they should be modeling their at-bats off of LeMahieu. He goes up there and he tries to make contact. He tries to hit the ball hard, and he tries to get on base. That's his goal. He should be leading off every game, regardless of if it's righty or a lefty. Forget this Gardner leads off against righties, because it's not.
Yeah, I don't see the value of putting LeMahieu like 6th or 7th in the lineup. They beat the Red Sox 8-0. He was leading off.
Yeah.
And because they're playing sale. And then the next game, you turn around and he's back down to I think 5th or 6th in the lineup. Yeah. It's just it worked out great because Gardner came up in that leadoff spot and hit the grand slam, so it worked out. It's just I just don't understand.
Yeah, but why he had 3 other at bats before that he didn't do anything. So, Well,
LeMahieu also went 0-4. If you want to throw that out there, LeMahieu did go 0-4 that game.
The
second Boston game.
Okay, yeah, because he had the first RBI hit in the first.
In the first game, yeah.
But you put a contact hitter up there because he's going to work the count. He's going to have a good at bat. Now Gardner does that too, but he doesn't hit for average. You want your leadoff guy to hit for average. He has the on base percentage, but it's not all. He's not the same player. He's getting old.
I think this is kind of a mute point though, because I think soon Hicks will be back and he'll be the leadoff guy.
Yeah, which again I don't agree with him being the leadoff hitter either, but I'm not the manager. So we talked about positive notes. Would you consider, with all these injuries, a trade this early in the season?
Oh yeah, why? I don't understand why teams wait until the trade deadline to make trades. Mm-hmm. I can understand when teams' seasons don't go as they thought it would, then you gotta wait for them to become sellers. Mm-hmm. But other teams they know they have no chance, like Toronto. Yeah. Why not try to make trades now? I could easily. I'm a big fan of Voit, and I want him to succeed. I want Mike Ford to do well. But if they don't succeed, Smoke is a great first baseman with power. I think he would fit perfectly into this lineup.
And he's hitting all right. He's not doing bad.
And if not Smoke, I don't know what it would take, but I think Stroman would be a great addition to the rotation as well. Mm-hmm. And they're selling. They already traded away Pilar.
Yep, who's playing pretty well in San Francisco.
Yeah, he's a good player.
But I wouldn't do it just yet, in my opinion. They're still trying to figure things out. You're gonna start having guys coming back from injuries. If one of your key players that are injured has a big setback, like Dellin Betances, I'm not saying go get a reliever right now, but I'm just saying if one of those guys on there, like say Didi was expected, or Gary Sanchez, if Gary takes a big hit and setback, maybe I'd start considering what's available and what you can get, because you're not going to get him back for a long time, and you can't rely on Romine. He's not having the season like he had last year. So
no,
not quite yet. But when the deadline comes around, the Yankees should be, if they start to turn things around, they should be all in on pitching. They need more pitching. Can never have too much pitching. I will preach that until the day I die.
You can never have too much pitching.
Okay, so speaking of pitching, big question. Gio Gonzalez, his opt-out in his minor league deal is coming up on Saturday. I believe he starts tomorrow. Now in 3 games, he's 2-1 with a ERA in 15 innings pitched. He had a rough first start, but the 2 starts since, he's only given up 2 runs on, I don't know, I didn't write this right, but he's been much better in his last 2 starts. If he pitches well tomorrow night, do you call him up?
Well, if you call him up, whose spot is he taking? Because, like I said, I don't think starting pitching has been the real problem here.
No, but you're dealing with CC is back. However, he's getting old. This is his last year. Hap has been struggling. Do you consider going to a 6-man rotation, give these guys an extra day off while all these other guys are injured?
I've always been a fan of the 6-day rotation. I just don't. The Yankees never actually went to that.
Yeah, level. There's always talk about it, and
why not? Why be stubborn and stick with 5?
I think if you're having pitchers kind of fizzle out towards the end of the season, this might not be a bad idea. Man, they probably make 3 less starts than they would have if it was a 5-man rotation.
Right, and Tanaka's one of those guys that's always better on that 6th day instead of the 5th.
So why not benefit CC? Might benefit Hap. You got a guy coming up who has experience, who's been in the big leagues for as long as Gonzalez has been. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? And plus, you saw, Herman's been pitching great, but what if he's peaked this season?
But you have to do this by Saturday, right?
Yeah, they have to decide. Well, he gets to opt out.
So what if?
But if he has a bad start, I would bet that he decides to stay. No one else is giving.
I don't think he has any other options. He said to himself that the Yankees were the only offer he got.
Yeah, and I think the point of that was maybe he is lights out in AAA, and then Yankees don't call him up, and then he opts out, and some team wants him.
True.
Because he's been pitching well, but he's only had 3 starts. I don't know what you can gauge in 3 starts.
By the way, he's been awesome down AAA to the other players. I hear he's been buying the guys shoes and food and whatever things they need. It's
bought
really nice
stuff for the club. He bought stuff for the clubhouse, like I think an arcade game or something like that too.
Yeah, something like that. He's been really good, so that's good.
Again, with him being a veteran, bringing him up, you got Herman, you got all these young guys in the starting rotation. They could benefit from it. Plus, he's another lefty. I think the fact of adding another lefty to the rotation would be fantastic.
Herman actually looked really good coming in relief after CC's first some things. That could be a nice role for Herman too. That middle relief.
And the Yankees could use a long reliever.
Yeah, Sessa's. I don't know. I'm still not sold on Sessa.
No, me neither. So I think they could bring him up. Do you think he could bring him up?
If he pitches well, I don't see why they wouldn't bring him up.
Okay.
I don't think they want to let a guy. I don't think they're going to risk losing him if he pitches well because they opt out.
Right. Couldn't hurt, right? Nope. And he could find his rhythm, and he could do what he did in Milwaukee last year after the trade. So if things don't turn around soon, we start having more games like tonight. Does this put Boone on the hot seat? And what would it take for you to fire a manager if you were in that position?
Yeah, so that's a good question. How long is the leash on Aaron Boone? He did very, very well last year as his first year. He won 100 games, but they didn't go as far as they did the year before with Girardi as manager and a less talented team, if you ask most people. Boone had the more talented team. I don't know how long the leash is. I think if they get to, the All-Star break and they're not even in contention for a wild card, you got to take a serious look.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm ownership, I might start, because this seems to be the theme of the offseason, is why they didn't go after these big name free agents. They might look at it and say, well, there were a lot of incidental issues. People got hurt. Half our team got hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not Boone's fault. However, his bullpen management is questionable. He relies too much. In my opinion, he relies too much on analytics. He never goes with his gut.
That's not his decision, though.
It's not his decision. That's the team's decision. However, I also don't like how he interviews. I don't know. I don't think the
players do either. We all saw Judge's reaction.
Yeah, and I don't know. I watch him respond to questions, and it just feels like he pulls answers out of a hat before he goes and sits down. He
takes the safe way out.
He's a puppet. He's a puppet.
Right. You want to see genuine feelings, and you just don't get that from him.
And that's what Girardi gave. He gave his run-of-the-mill answers, but he would also get invested and give actual responses. And I'm tired of hearing, we're about to turn a corner. Yeah.
No one wants to hear that.
So, my answer is soon. If they start falling more and more under 500, and the All-Star break comes around and they're out of contention, out of the wild card, I think I would let him go. I mean, you're given one of the best, most talented teams in the major leagues. Granted, there were some injuries, but you're going to get some of these guys back, and if you still can't turn it around once these guys come back, and you're still, struggling to score runs, and you're not making any adjustments, then yeah, I think you fire him.
You know what I just want to say real quick? I think it's really funny is that last year when the Red Sox won the World Series, Cora got manager of the year, and everyone praised the Red Sox for hiring a guy like Cora because he had experience as a bench coach in Houston and that he was a far superior manager than Boone. Now he's fast forward to this year. Boone has all these injuries. Cora has basically the same lineup, and look where the teams are.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think it's
kind of hilarious.
And they made a big
I hate
boo-boo.
that guy.
Yeah, I can't stand him either. But they made a big boo-boo, the Red Sox, in spring training. They started their pitchers almost a month into spring training.
Yeah, Sale doesn't even like to pitch in spring training, he said.
Yeah, but look at what's happening right now. Between Evaldi, him, Porcello, the only pitcher that's pitching well is David Price. And all these other guys, they're struggling. And now look what the position they're in. They're 6-7 games under 500. They have the record in the American League. I know it's only the first month of the season, but was it worth it? You want your team to get off to a good start.
Yeah.
Granted, it doesn't always happen. Look at the Yankees, but at the same time, come on, So that might be a big issue for him. So with that said, Brad, if the Yankees fired Boone, obviously they wouldn't replace him right away. They'd probably have one of the bench coaches fill in for him, or if they fired him after the season. Who would you want to see take over as Yankee manager?
All right, there's two parts, I think, to my answer. And I'm sure you have the same two names in mind. So I think they're grooming Beltran to be the next manager if Boone doesn't work out. I think that's what basically comes after you being a special advisor and working with the guys. And I think Beltran's really developing pretty close relationships with ownership, if you ask me, behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So I think he would be the next manager. Me personally, I love A-Rod. The guy knows more about baseball than anyone you talk to. You ask anyone on these ESPN or MLB Network or any of these stations that interview guys, and they all will talk to you about how much he knows about the game. And just listening to him for a half inning yesterday on the Yankees game with Michael Kay, David Cohn, and Paul O'Neill, well, he was just saying he just knew everything about the game. He knew what was going on. He knew what the Yankees needed to do. And he has other jobs. He has to cover the entire sport, but yet he still knows the ins and outs of the Yankees. And I think you can't overlook that.
No, I know he comes with a tainted past and everything, but I'd be willing to overlook that too.
He's really changed his image around, though. If you think about what he's doing on TV right now, people like him.
Well, look at the difference between A-Rod as a player and A-Rod after baseball against Jeter as a player and Jeter
right now.
After
Jeter's
baseball.
Not being very favorable. I mean, I understand why, and it's not really his fault, but it is funny how that works.
I mean,
out.
he's trying to turn around an entire franchise, and who knows, maybe 5 years from now it works. But right now, A-Rod, he's got a new image. He's engaged to J-Lo. Good for him. He is always been praised for everything he knows. Even as a player, announcers would say, he came up to me and he told me everything that he did wrong, and then he went out and fixed it. And you want a guy with that kind of knowledge. I mean, he's went from all the way up here to all the way down here, and now he's right around here again. And you want a guy that's been through it all. I mean, Boone's dealt with some adversity because of Boone. The Yankees got A-Rod in the first place.
Right.
Imagine if he didn't hurt himself playing basketball.
Listen, if everybody can root for Tiger to win the Masters, then everyone should be able to root for A-Rod to succeed after his career.
And I guarantee you, he would be good at it. He would handle interviews like a pro because he's dealt it with it his whole life.
Tough ones too, yeah.
Yeah. So Beltran would be my other option too, just because, like you said, he seems like he's being groomed for it. He's very familiar with the players. I mean, look at what he did and maybe it wasn't just him pointing out that he was tipping his pitches, but look how he helped James Paxton.
Paxton, yeah.
So
who would you want though? Who would be your top pick?
Honestly, flip a coin. I'd be okay with either.
Yeah.
I don't think you could go wrong with either. You know, both are good in my book. They interviewed Beltran last time before they hired Boone, so I think he would probably get it first. But I think somewhere down the line, A-Rod becomes a manager. He's got so much knowledge and so much wealth of information that he can share with young players and stuff.
It depends. It depends on how much he likes the whole TV spotlight, though, because he's really good on TV, and he know how he's always on like the spotlight. So he might want to stay on TV. Because Cashman said, when Cashman was asked about A-Rod for the manager spot, he said A-Rod never expressed any interest for the job.
But at the same time, you could say the same thing about Beltran. They both kind of retired around or finished the game at the same time. Beltran took a year off. Even though he interviewed for the job, he took a year off to get away from the game and spend time with his family. Right. Look at what spending time with his family has done for A-Rod. He's a completely different person. So maybe now that he's been away from the game for a little bit, he's slowly getting back into it. I mean, he's doing the same thing Boone did. Boone worked for ESPN. He was an analyst. He was a commentator. So maybe he just needs
Girardi did the same thing.
Yeah. So, who knows what could happen. But if the Yankees brought in A-Rod or brought in Beltran, I'd be perfectly fine with that. Or, Boone doesn't get fired and we're stuck with him for a little while. I mean, he's going to get better. He can only get better.
If he wins, he wins. I mean, you can't underestimate the injuries this year.
Exactly. So now that we're on the topic of Boone, and we can go through this pretty quickly because we brought it up a number of times during this episode, but analytics. It's been a word that's been tossed around a lot this offseason, and since that book, Inside the Empire, came out, it seems like the Yankees have a full analytics team, and they sit in the dugout tunnel and they tell Boone what to do during the game. And, is it really all it's cracked up to be? I mean, they focus on it a lot, and I'm stealing some of your lines here, Brad. So I'll let you take over.
No, I mean that's what baseball is now, and I think that's one of the reasons why Aaron Boone got the job over some of the other managers, some of the older managers that interviewed, like Eric Wedge. I think Cashman wanted a manager that was relying on analytics, that believed in analytics, and really got into numbers, and that's what Boone did. Boone was praised for his memory. I guess he's like a photographic memory.
Good for him.
Yeah, right. So his reliance on numbers was big, and that's what Cash wanted, and that's what he got. And it's not just Boone. We talked about this. It's all around the major leagues. Every team now has, I guess, put in a lot of money into an analytics team instead of getting a manager that's been around and knows a lot. It's what it's all about, and that's I don't blame Boone for having a book or guys in the tunnel telling what to do, because that's what the Yankees want.
Well, I mean, look at Girardi. He always had his binder. He
always had the binder, and I hated
that's all
binder.
Stats. Yeah, but that's all stuff. That's all stats. It's all stuff they figured out before the game. That that's technically analytics. But
and that's what I loved about. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
They asked on the Michael K show. They asked A-Rod, like, we know analytics. It's a big part of the game, but when a guy gets a hit, like if the guy goes 3 for 4, 4 for 4, and the next game they sit him out because analytics don't say he should play because the matchup isn't good against his pitcher, is that right? And A-Rod said, if you don't believe in players being hot, then you never played the game, because it's a real thing. When you're hot, you're seeing the ball like a beach ball. When you're not, you're seeing it like a golf ball. It is a real thing.
Yeah,
and I hate that analytics is taking that. Analytics is taking that out of the game.
Well, you got Mike Ford up here with 2 outs and runners on first and second.
Yeah, Frazier's had another hit.
Yep. So for those of you who aren't familiar with analytics, it's kind of all the rage. Like Brad said, teams are investing tons of money into it. It's an observational analysis of the game. It pretty much takes every little thing into account. How the ball comes off the bat. What angle, spin rates. Yep. How fast the player is, how much ground he can cover in the outfield. So, I mean, it's generally used for 3 purposes: to compare performances among certain players under realistic data conditions. In other words, establishing a player's market value, provides prediction of future performance. So based on what he's done, you can predict what he's going to do. And and how many wins or losses he can contribute to a team, useful function of players' contributions to a team. So like you can sign a certain player with certain characteristics, like a power hitter, because he hits, all he does is hit home runs, or a speed guy or whatever. So I mean, there's analytics for everything, Brad. Pitching, offense, defense, and you hear David Cohn talk about it all the time. And
David Cohn's really into spin rates and analytics for pitchers. The pitching, I think, is one thing that you really should do rely on analytics. Every pitcher would tell you once they start studying the numbers, they've gotten better at pitching. So I do like David Cohn, because David Cohn should be the pitching coach. I do like that he relies on the numbers. I just don't think a manager should, as far as not ignoring the feel of the game.
Well, look at Trevor Bauer. He's a big pitcher. He's a pitcher that's really big into analytics.
Yep.
And he's totally revolutionized his performance because of it. But I mean, there's a couple categories that you might hear tossed around a lot. There's WAR, which is for an offensive standpoint, it's wins above replacement. Just saying, like Mike Trout has a 5 WAR or whatever.
It's so double like the next guy.
Yeah. So if you took him
everybody else.
If you took him off the team for the whole year, you're losing 5 wins, pretty much over the next person. Then there's like UZR, which is a defensive stat, which pretty much says like, how much ground a player can cover in the outfield or at his position, his range for that matter. And then there's ERA plus, which is just like a pitching. I don't remember what that one was, but some mathematicians plug all this information into a computer, and the computer generates a lineup based on the numbers and tells the manager what lineup to make. And pretty much what Brad said takes the whole gut instinct out of whether or not a manager makes decisions, and it's a little frustrating, So Brad, do you buy into this whole concept, this whole notion of analytics?
I kind of jumped the gun again, but like I said, I buy into it in certain aspects of the game, like pitching. But as far as who to play in the lineup, no, I don't buy into it. When it comes to shifting, I do buy into it, because it's nice to know where guys can hit a ball 50% of the time instead of having a fielder where he hits it 1% of the time. I get it there.
Yep.
But as far as who to bring into a game at a certain time, I don't believe in analytics. I think at some point there's managers to make those decisions, and they know their players more than any number.
Well, you made a perfectly good point earlier in this conversation about bringing in Jonathan Holder over Zach Britton. Probably because the numbers said Holder had better.
Ford just got hosed to end the game. I feel bad for that, but go ahead.
I'm not there yet. I just saw the attempted
you should watch
pickoff.
It's a terrible call.
Well, anyways, what you were saying, they put in Holder instead of Britton because Britton hasn't pitched in a while. But you got to understand that these guys make these decisions, and I'm guessing this is it. Ooh.
It's below his ankles. It's almost to his not below his ankles. It's below his knees, almost to his ankles. It's terrible.
That's a terrible call.
Awful call.
And that's how the game ends.
Remember last year they said the strike zone was being raised up a little bit. Well, the umpires have brought that right back down, because Judge has been getting that called on him all season long too, and it's disgusting.
They say that Judge leads the league in pitches called outside the zone.
Yeah, it's awful. That's an awful call. Awful.
I feel bad for his parents.
God forbid Boone go out and argue, though. You're not going to get an emotion out of him.
Yeah. Another thing. Players feed off that. If you've got a manager that goes out there and protects your players, then they're gonna respond to it. Another thing that analytics doesn't tell you. But also putting a pitcher in a game who probably shouldn't be put in the game, but the numbers tell you, but he hasn't been pitching well, probably not the best decision. Same thing with how the lineups are generated. You get Voit batting third. I don't think he's the number 3 hitter yet. I think he could be down the line, but he hasn't proven that he could be, even though his numbers say that he should be. I don't get it. I don't get managing without using your gut, and I think it plays a big part in it. And like you said, Brad, using analytics to determine pitching matchups, or using it to work on your mechanics or your spin rates or all that stuff, I think that's fantastic. I think that's a great tool to have. But I think making decisions, putting in players, and generating lineups, I don't agree with it. I think there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance.
players, some players embrace it, but other players are like, all right, now every game, every spring training, I have to impress a computer, not impress a manager.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you have to do.
It's not what you want. It's not how the game. It's not the good part of the game. The great part of the game is all the little things, all the little nuances, that all the decisions. That's why I fell in love with the game. That's why I'm a huge baseball fan. I love the strategy and figuring out matchups and going based on gut and saying, oh, well, I think this person's going to get the big hit tonight, even though he's been struggling lately. He's due, or so, little things like that. They don't do that anymore.
No.
So quickly, because I know we've been kind of going on a long time here.
It's just so much to say.
It is. It's a big and deep topic of conversation.
It's deeper than we get into right now. Yeah.
I mean, we could talk all night about it, and having been watching the game since we were kids and growing up in an era where you've seen the transition from this old style of coaching to this new style of coaching and running a team. I kind of like the old way. I wish they would go back to it a little bit and find that delicate balance between the two. I think the Yankees rely too heavily on it. I do. I don't get it.
And they don't make any excuses. They've been saying since the beginning of I don't know, years now, that they are at the forefront of analytics, and that's how they're going to run their team. And what I would say to that is, when's the last time you won a World Series? Is it really working?
Yeah, right.
Is it working? I don't know.
I mean, look at what's happened so far. They've been basing everything on analytics, and you just had another one-run game. You're telling me the computer's saying that lineup was going to score a bunch of runs against this pitching staff. Well,
if analytics works, then why are the Yankees so bad against awful teams every year?
And that's the other thing, Brad, is that they say they have this better percentage of this lineup putting up more runs against this pitcher. Well, guess what? That difference in percentage, like let's say there was an 80% chance the Yankees were going to put up 5 or 6 runs against what's his face tonight? I can't remember his name.
Homer
Bailey. Well, guess what? That 20% just happened. That 20% that Homer Bailey was going to pitch a gem just happened.
Yeah.
That 20% that the Yankees were only going to score 1 run just happened, and it's been happening all season. And
another thing about analytics too is now everyone does these bullpen games. Analytics says, okay, in this inning you bring in this reliever. Analytics doesn't account for the fact that sometimes there's games where pitchers just don't have their stuff.
Yeah.
You have to rely on 4 or 5 relief pitchers having all their stuff every game if you're going to do it that way.
And that's, you can't do that because that's not how the game is played. That's not how baseball works. Players have good days and they have bad days. They wake up in the morning with a headache. It could affect how they pitch later that night. That's the thing that analytics doesn't take into consideration. And that's why I think there needs to be a delicate balance between the two. You need to be able to look at a player and say, all right, well, the computer's telling me he's going to pitch a shutout tonight. Maybe not a shutout, but he'll have a good performance tonight because he matches up well with this team. And he goes out and he gets up 7 runs. You can't predict that. Baseball is one of the only sports that is, well, all sports are unpredictable.
You can't predict any sport, but
you can't predict it. You can't predict someone's going to go out there and perform when it's just, I don't know. We can harp on this all day, and it goes back to the Yankees not making offers to Machado and
Corbin and Harper,
or making trades for Scherzer, Verlander. You can talk about this on and on and on and on, and they just didn't make the moves, and now they're stuck with the consequences. They still have a very talented team, especially when they're healthy, but they could have made moves where they could have built it up even more, and the computer is telling them not to make those moves.
Yeah, I mean, look at the year that Houston traded for Verlander. A lot of fans like myself wanted Verlander that year.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't having that great of a year, and then you got all these MLB analysts saying, well, it doesn't really make sense. He's getting up in the age, and numbers show like this velocity's down, this spin rate's down, and he's just not, and then you throw him into a pennant race, and the guy has just been unbelievable ever since. He got rejuvenated, and that's something computers can't tell you.
Mm-hmm. And to add to that, he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball since that trade was made.
Exactly.
Hands down.
Still.
So how would you have predicted? No one would have ever known he would have had a bounce back like that. Computers could not have predicted that.
Right. Computers can't predict that. You have to look at him and say, you know what? Verlander's been around. He's a veteran. He's performed well in the playoffs. He's a competitive guy. He's going to turn around when he gets to this team. That's a gut decision you have to go by.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm saying bring Gio Gonzalez up. Put him
I agree.
Put him in a quality pitching rotation. Put him surrounded by guys like J Happ, CC Sabathia, and Masahiro Tanaka, and see if that doesn't bring out the best in him. You don't know what you're going to get, but why not take the chance?
I think they will.
I think they will.
If you want to go back to that.
Yep. So with that said, Brad, let's wrap this up because we're going up on an hour here, and I hope people are still listening by this point.
We'll chop it up. You can do your editing, and you know.
if not, we'll play this episode a few times because press or put it out there for everyone to listen to because we talk about some good points, and we would really love to get your perspective on this. So if you stuck with us to the end here, or if you're just maybe you skip ahead, maybe we can even put that and skip ahead and if you want to hear our conversation on this. But we really do want to hear what you think. We do want to know what your thoughts are on this and how you feel about what the Yankees have done so far this season, because so far it hasn't been what we were promised.
No, I don't think anyone saw us coming, especially with how weak their schedule was starting the season out.
Mm-hmm.
You can't overlook the injuries, but they still have a better team than the teams they're losing to.
Yep,
yes,
absolutely.
In my opinion.
They could very well be 15-3 right now.
Yep. Instead, they're
easily with all the injuries.
8-10, and the Rays are in first place at 15-4, something like that.
Something like that. Yep. Still have the best record in the league. So, with that said, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I know we haven't posted anything in a while, but we'll get things going again. Find us on all the social networks. Brad, tell them where they can find us.
All right, we're on iTunes. We are on Spotify. We are on Google Play. We're always commenting on Twitter, maybe YouTube if we get around to it. Wherever you can listen to things, you can listen to us.
Mm-hmm. And we're on all the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I've also been dabbling in Reddit lately, getting a lot more responses there. So maybe we should start checking that out a little bit more, getting the word out there.
Can you do videos on Reddit, or is it just columns or writing?
You have to post the link.
Gotcha.
So, but comment.
We'll post the link.
Yep, we'll comment some more. We'll get some more, generate some more people that way. Hopefully, get some more listeners and get the word out. But check out the website. Again, it's a hub for all of our content. You can find everything in one place, links to everything. And find me on Twitter at GregAndriano05 because my name's Greg Andriano.
And I'm at Bradder Chatter 1 because my name is Bradder Chatter. No, it's not. But
it's on his birth certificate. Check it out.
My parents are big fans of chatting.
They're chatters, chatterboxes. But thanks for listening and watching. This was episode number 18. 19 should be coming soon. And hopefully we're turning a corner here with Yankee Chatter, just like the Yankees are turning a corner with their season.
We want to turn a better corner than. We want to make a sharper turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So thanks again. This is Greg and Brad, and we'll see you soon. Have a good one, and go Yanks.